Well, congrats on the film. Tornado's opening the 21st edition of Glasgow Film Festival. What I find interesting is that it's a period piece, 1790. If you had to go back to 1790, what piece of modern technology would you be happy to get rid of?
To get rid of?
To get rid of. So no phones, no emails.
All of that, what you just said. So you've answered the question. For me, all streaming, all device operated nonsense. Yeah.
What about you guys? Get rid of social media?
I would maybe add cars.
Yeah.
Let's go back to being on.
Well, that's the same thing. Now. That's the same thing.
Yeah, I would like. Yeah, cars maybe. I don't know.
Noise.
Yeah. Noise.
Too much noise, too many screens.
Yeah, screens.
Too many streaming services.
Yeah.
What I find fascinating, I've spoken to directors before, and they said for some period pieces they like to enforce some rules on set to help the cast, stay, in that kind of mindset. Is that something that you did for Tornado?
Yeah, the food sometimes tasted like it was from 1790.
Oh, the cake was going. Lot of stews.
Not really. I don't think any of us got too method because it's just not something I'm interested in. But I mean, it was rough enough anyway being in Scotland in January and the weather. You didn't need to add any more. So,
I mean, when you had a break, you just had a sleep.
Yeah.
If you could, if you had a few minutes, lunchtime, you just have a kip, and then you get up and you go up again because you got battered up there. But it was, that was all right.
Are any of you guys outdoors people, campers or hikers?
Camp in like a good weather, like warm weather.
I've never done it.
No?
Never been camping. No.
Really?
Yeah, so maybe I should take it.
Camping in Hawaii is great.
I'm sure it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Is that different to camping in Scotland?
A little bit.
Do you think the harsh conditions, helped with your performance at all?
I think they were a character.
Mm-hmm.
They were where we thrived or didn't, depending on how we were doing characters. Yes, as far as I was concerned, the landscape and the environment we were in was was the star of the show, and then we were facets of or moving through it. But it was, I mean, we were talking about this earlier that if you had to create that, it would price you out of it. And if you had to, I mean, it's all laid on.
Yeah.
Up there, you just have to be brave enough to take it.
I mean, it's not as if we all got out our limos and we're standing in the middle of nowhere, then got back in limos again. I mean, even getting to some of the sets, we were on a boat that was sort of like getting blown to the wrong side of the reservoir.
You have to walk.
So we couldn't get cars up there. Yeah, so it was fun. I love all that.
Yeah. And for you, Tim, Keiko, and Taka. I'm always interested in the process of how actors, get into their characters. For you guys, was it, in wardrobe, or was it literally when you stepped on set?
I think it was prior to all of that for me. I read the script and thought, oh, okay, this is insane. And then had a meeting with this fella on Zoom, and then I was up and running. And then you start thinking, the costumes were astounding. All that stuff, but it was when we just all landed in it, and you kind of had to. For me, I had to get rid of any preconceived notions about what this guy was, get rid of all of that, and figure it out as I went along, in discussion, in the moment as we were shooting. That was my thing. It was, I think, in a sense, probably easier for me than it was for these guys.
Yeah. I like the small detail in the wardrobe. Like your character's got this, scarf that I suppose sets him apart from the rest of his gang or his group. Did you guys bring any other small details to the character to help bring the character to life?
Well, my costume was like a kimono, but it was a little bit short, or it was a little bit long here, and we didn't have many choice. But we had a big cloth, remember,
Mhm.
and it was supposed to be like worn like a scarf, but instead I put it like an overcoat.
Yeah.
And so like we sort of improvised, along the way,
Yeah.
and that's what Fujin would have done. Like,
Yeah,
in
you have this
back
great
then.
like headwear that
Yeah.
when you're on top of the puppet show.
Yeah, that's true.
you
That's
know,
true. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
things like that that were
Yeah.
just little touches
Yeah.
that because I was very bothered about not wanting to get Japan wrong, not wanting to so I was relying on Takehiro and Kōki for all kind of authenticity.
Right.
Right?
I
Yeah.
feel like I really love the mixture of the two cultures because it's like not
That's
completely
why
different.
that's why I could get
history.
away with it. Yeah. No, in a way, yes, because you weren't in Japan.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have to
Exactly.
survive in the landscape.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So what
Yeah.
would your characters do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's this line that I love. Know when to wait and when to move. That sort of philosophy, is that something that you guys apply to filmmaking or acting?
In your Zen life.
No, for me it's just chaos. My whole career, which I love, is anarchy and chaos. I never know what's coming, I never know what to do, and never know where it's going to lead me. And I've always liked that. It was like, don't have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's my
when you're just like not knowing when to wait and not knowing when to move.
Nope, it's just the absolute opposite. It's like, okay, oops, here I am, and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now this film, in many respects, is a western, I suppose, and obviously with Slow West, you're very well versed in that genre. The cinematography, the soundtrack is very Ennio, Morricone.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about that genre that keeps you, kind of going back to it?
I mean, Morricone did every genre, but I don't think there's anyone better, to be influenced by. To be honest, I went to see him live in London, and it's the best concert I've ever seen. It's just incredible what he did, and so yeah, I felt like I couldn't be influenced by him for Slow West because it was a straight western, and I did just. So for this, since it was a bit of a samurai film, I thought there's definitely can be a nod to Morricone, and as well we talked a lot about Sergio Leone, and the great thing about when you start reading about the history of samurai and Japanese cinema and American cinema and westerns is this sort of influencing each other. It wasn't as if one came first. There was Kurosawa being influenced by John Ford, there was Sergio Leone being influenced by Kurosawa, there was George Lucas being influenced. So I just felt like I was just wanting to add to that sort of genre of western and samurai.
Yeah, this is like a Scottish western, I suppose.
And in a way British. I know everyone keeps saying Scottish because we shot in Scotland, but I wanted to make a comment on Britain, being in a multicultural place and being full of people from everywhere.
I worked with Morricone. I spent a lot of time.
Yes,
with him.
I remember you saying that.
He
That
would have
blew my mind.
approved. He would have very much approved of this. Yeah.
I love the kind of the elements where the soundtrack's like in the film.
Yes,
that
it's a
sort of thing,
character.
like Mad Max,
It's a character.
Fury
Yeah.
Road, where the guitars are playing, or in this case it was, the violins and stuff.
Yeah.
Was that an idea you had, a concept from the very beginning that you wanted to implement?
Absolutely, yeah. And there's one of the bandits is a musician bandit, so it was the same as Slow West. I wanted, as much of the music in it. There's something about. I remember a show called The Wire. All the music came from source. All came from stereos and all this, and there's something wonderful about that. And so I wanted a bit of that. I wanted there to be music happening there. That's also
On
like the
site.
puppet show as well, with the winding of the box, and so sometimes you don't know whether the music's supposed to be score or actually happening there. Yeah.
And Kōki, your characters, I love the fierce intensity that you bring, especially in those kind of
Very
brutal,
fierce and intense.
those brutal, action scenes. There's a kind of natural rhythm in those scenes. It doesn't feel, rehearsed. What's it like for you during the scene? Are you just in the moment, or are you thinking about, your next line or the next piece of choreography?
So for the sword fighting, it was actually really challenging because we didn't have that much time to rehearse the action scenes and everything, and
the people that Kōki were fighting weren't very good. That's what she's trying to say.
Which cut that in post.
Which kind of also probably what it would have actually been like.
But they didn't have that time either.
Yeah.
To prepare.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. You can only be as good as the person you're fighting.
Yeah.
So then you have to compensate, and then it can get dangerous too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because if you move faster than them, they can get hurt.
Absolutely.
Or you can get hurt.
So there was a bit of that.
Just one final question.
Sorry.
Normally I would ask about next projects and stuff, but most of the time you can't say anything, and that's fair enough. What I want to know, what are you guys binging just now? What shows? Are you binging Peaky Blinders?
I know exactly what I'm. No, I'm not. I'm not on that. I'll tell you what I'm binging, which is absurd. Is Would I Lie to You? The comedy panel show. See what I'm talking about? That, House of Games, Richard Osman's show. Things like that, where I'm watching stand-up comedians. I'm fascinated by stand-ups and how they interact and how they play, because I think it relates directly to what I do. And so I go down a rabbit hole. So I watch everything Greg Davies does, James Acaster does, all of these, and Taskmaster's the best way to get through a flight is download a season of Taskmaster and you're done. Sorted. So yeah, I'm just fascinated by watching comedians work, and so that's me. Not very inspiring, but it's funny.
What are you guys watching just now? Anything in particular?
Well, you said Taskmasters. I mean, I'm watching Tarkovsky's.
See, there you go. Yeah, that's a much more intellectual.
No,
Both
not
comedies.
at all. Not at all. I mean,
Sarah Mulligan, come on.
Yeah.
You gotta love it. What you got?
Like, I've been watching White Lotus. White Lotus is on season 3 or something, and I've just started.
Oh, doesn't take long.
I don't know. I go through stuff. I think.
I watch
on the
festivals. I do I watch an entire works of. So if I'll take an actor and I'll start at the beginning and I'll watch all of their movies.
Oh, wow.
So Michael Powell, I'll watch all of his movies, or I'll watch whatever. I don't know who would be go 1939. Let's go Cary Grant. Okay, now start and go all the way through and see the progression.
Yeah.
Good and bad, and see where it lands, how it gets to Father Goose.
Wow. On the train on the way up, I was watching two things, switching between them both, which is probably wrong. One was a documentary on Black Hawk Down, the plane crash and then the other one was an old Frank Capra film with Gary Cooper.
See, that'll do. That's good.
Yeah, called John Doe.
Yeah, John Doe.
Yeah, so mixing it up, keeping it eclectic.
Yeah. What you got?
Shogun.
No.
See that?
I've been watching some just Netflix.
Yeah.
Night Agent.
Okay, you do one of those.
Yeah, one of those.
Make the brain go away.
Yeah.
What about you?
Me, I actually was just going to start watching Shogun because I haven't watched it yet. So yeah, I think I'll be binging on that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time. Best of luck with film and released.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey you guys!
Hey, you guys!